I got no truck against the ICC indictment of a petty tyrant in Sudan. I just feel he's too far down the list. Bush, Cheney, Blair, Netanyahu are guilty of much greater atrocities. And not indicting them first reeks of corrupted political machinations. Just a kickback kind of day. It's definitely springtime around here. Mid-80s today. I'd been living here on my property for a couple of months and decided to add some meat to my diet, as I'd been living basically off of rice, beans, and tortillas. And determined to get in the right frame of mind, I figured I'd clean my firearms first, beginning with my pistols. Now, no sooner had I broken down the .22 revolver, which, by the way, is no longer really a tool, more of a museum piece. But technically it still works, so anyway. As I began to clean and reassemble it, I caught a movement across the pond. And I saw 3 rabbits. Month had an R in it, so as the saying goes, they're in season. Of course, my impulse was to grab the long barrel 20 gauge goose gun, which has a 200-meter reach, but one of the primary hunting tools is discipline. So I continued cleaning. And no sooner had I finished cleaning the largest, the aforementioned long-barreled shotgun, and those 3 rabbits came out of the tree line about 12 or 15 meters directly in front of me. I put down the 20 and picked up the .410 one of the kids had left behind on his last visit, probably as a good excuse to return. One of my major rules for hunting is to minimize the suffering and reducing the chance of injury. Therefore, I aimed slightly above their heads, told them thank you for the chance, and pulled the trigger. All 3 went down. Now, the term sounds silly, but the first step in preparation is to dress the animal, which means removing the innards and the skin. The .410 was loaded with number 6 birdshot, which means each cartridge contains about 20 BB-sized pellets. Each one of those rabbits had 1 BB enter their foreheads to cause their demise. I kept the skulls for a while just to lend weight when I told this story. Not long thereafter, I got a new neighbor who's the type that if he's not buying a bigger rifle, he's buying a more powerful scope every year. Now, one of his first stories I heard him tell was about tracking the first deer he shot on his new property all evening, and half the next day chasing a blood trail before finding the deer at another neighbor's house who was addressing it. After about 20 years of example, he now proudly brags that he aims for the head because he'd rather miss than wound his targets. And for the record, I'm a marksman with a pistol and a sharpshooter with a long barrel. Even brought down a flying goose with a .22 one hungry afternoon. If you wish to understand and get good grounding on the Middle East and on our policies surrounding the utter failure of our past and present, yes, and even future, then treat yourself to Robert Fisk. From Lebanon he paints a vivid, accurate, and learned picture, climbing over war-torn bodies to bring us the truth. His life he risked. He's been living there aware for quite a while and trying hard to wake us up, stop us from our constant pounding. Have you ever bothered thinking about our military might, on which we're spending almost $1 trillion every year? 1,000 bases spread worldwide to build a ring around 3 countries that we trade with, borrow money from, and fear. We've built an iron curtain around India, Russia, and China with the paranoid delusion that our guns could rule the world, either buying off or subjugating or devastating, sometimes all 3, each and every nation where our flag has been unfurled. Our designated enemies don't hate our freedoms. They just want freedom from us and the insane few who rule us, while all those who could change things are too busy watching idle, drinking beer. Drinking beer began with Don all through the darkened Middle Ages, as drinking water would have killed you. A voyage stopping landfall brought the masses coffee, and enlightenment ensued. 400 years of progress, then in just a generation, from landing on the moon to a bankrupt beggar nation. Most have turned from challenge, or even seemed to care of what is true. Well, every dark cloud has, they say, a silver lining. And a lack of dough may mean less beer, and after bitching and some whining, seems more eyes are being opened every day. The ruling class is losing sway, so more and more on militant police they are reliant. How well does that work? Well, look at Argentina, or more recently Iraq, or Venezuela, Ireland. Everywhere they're using force at first, they win, and then backtrack, because the masses won't remain beneath the jackboots of an empire. Brown shirts amount to few, and free choice, free-willed, freedom-loving is such a strong desire that every empire crumbles as soon as common folk quit acting out of fear, as that is what keeps the ruling few intact. Now, into the circle file.